Hello everyone, hope everyone's well. And today I'm going to be talking about one of my favourite directors and one of the greats for sure. One of the greats of all time. So yeah, we're going to be looking at and talking about John Carpenter. Now, John Carpenter's contribution to the film industry is quite frankly immeasurable. He's pretty much every horror film, every action film that comes out today owes a lot to John Carpenter's blueprints, for sure. I mean, you look at a film like The Purge, the Purge films, definitely John Carpenter influenced, for sure. So yeah, we're going to be looking at a couple of Blu-rays that I got his, and yeah, do them in chronological order and talk about his other films in between. So yeah, first film I got chronologically is Assault on Precinct 13. I mean, what can we say about this? It's sort of horror, but it's not. It's sort of a like action thriller with pseudo horror elements, and basically the plot is done in sort of like 4 set pieces or 4 acts. 4 acts? What is this, Shakespeare? Well, whatever. It's sort of done in 4 set pieces. So the first set piece is following the exploits of the gang Street Thunder. A gang in Anderson, California. Basically, just really nasty gang, up to no good as gangs do, and an interracial gang as well. And they do an oath. They cut their arms and put the blood in a bowl. Sort of like a symbolic thing that I don't know what it means, but it's just like sort of like I would say sort of like I will die for you. You're my blood brother. So yeah, that's the first act. The second act, I would say, is the police officer, the black policeman. Basically, his first role, first role on the job, is to watch or organise the closing down of the police station in Anderson, which is sounds pretty exciting, doesn't it? So yeah, he's got to, facilitate that and close that down, make sure everything's cut off. The third act is the prisoners going to death row. Napoleon Wilson. Oh, one of the greatest anti-heroes ever put on screen. Just an absolutely incredible performance by Darwin Johnston. Just incredible. He's Napoleon Wilson. He's cool. He's calm. He's collected. You look at him. You wouldn't think he killed anyone. He just oozes badass. He does, and he's always asking for a smoke. He's like, "Got a smoke? Well, if you see one, tag it for me, will you?" So no, he's very You know, he's very cool, he's very calm, he's very collected. He's not a raging psychopath, and that's what I like about anti-heroes. I mean, the yelling anti-heroes are all well and good and they're fine and they can be quite scary, but there's nothing better than an anti-hero it just speaks softly to you. You know, you go, like for example, like go, you know what I'm gonna do to you? I'm gonna rip your head off and shove it so far up your ass that you'll never shit again. You know, like really chilling. You know, really sort of like Cannibal Lecter. You know, that sort of. You know, he's sort of like that. Obviously not as crazy as Hannibal, but he's sort of like that. And I like the one particular scene that he gets revenge on the warden because there's one scene the warden gives gives Napoleon a few punches, roughs him up a bit. So as he's getting on the bus to go to death row, he bloody trips over the warden with his chains and he goes, "Shame, he ain't standing as good as he used to." Yeah. And of course the last act is a father and a daughter. Don't know. I think they're going to visit somebody in the area, and they get sidetracked because the little girl wants ice cream. So yeah, all these four set pieces they sort of link together for the main bulk of the film. So one of the prisoners gets sick on the bus. So they end up in the Anderson precinct. So they end up in the Anderson precinct because they think it's because the Charles Cyphers character thinks it's contagious. So they end up in the Anderson precinct. Now, the gang Street Thunder end up killing the little girl. Now, I don't know how John Carpenter got that past the censors. That scene, because you look at that scene today, it is quite hard to watch. To see a child get killed. Because there's not. I mean, you couldn't do it now. You couldn't show a child getting killed now. I don't think. So I don't know how if it did get past the censors or not. I'm not too sure if it did. But it is because it's incredibly nasty. The Frank Doubleday character just goes bang, and all she wanted was an ice cream. So the father, he chases down the gang, and he kills the leader. Frank Doubleday kills the leader, and then he ends up in the police station. So then, of course, the gang, Street Thunder, they want their revenge. So it's a big, massive siege, and the siege is absolutely incredible. Incredible. Now, I would describe the siege as sort of a cross between Rio Bravo and Night of the Living Dead. It has that vibe. It really does, and it's just absolutely brilliant. The siege, and of course the soundtrack by John Carpenter just completely enhances the atmosphere of the film, because Carpenter on a low budget, he thought, I'm going to compose the music myself on the synthesizer, and John Carpenter pretty much invented the horror synth genre. Pretty much mapped out. John Carpenter pretty much mapped out 80s music, really, with this soundtrack, and it's just absolutely incredible, the soundtrack. Before that, the only other person I can think of was using synthesizers in soundtracks was Walter / Wendy Carlos. So complete soundtrack, completely ahead of its time, And what I like, and also what I like about this film is John Carpenter's ability to create such likable characters through little or no characterization. You know, there's very little. I mean, with these characters, there's very little characterization, but you do care for them. You care for the black policeman. You do care for him. You know, you care about Napoleon Wilson, even though he's killed. He's so incredibly likable and charming. You root. You root for him because they got no choice. You know, at the end of the day, they're under siege, and they got to work together, and it's just brilliant, and just a classic film. You know, I think this is the first John Carpenter film I watched. I think it was. Then again, it might have been Escape from New York. It was either this one or Escape from New York. It might have been Escape from New York, and I was just blown away, and I became such a fan. Just absolutely incredible, and remake of it. No desire to see the remake of this, not at all. So yeah, saw on Precinct 13. Yeah, it's sort of like Rio Bravo meets Night of the Living Dead. That's if you haven't seen it, that's the best way to describe it. So yeah, saw on Precinct 13, brilliant. And we can't talk about John Carpenter films without talking about Halloween. Now, Halloween pretty much created the slasher boom of the early 80s. Now, Halloween isn't the first slasher. I mean, there's been a lot of... there's a lot of... well, not speculation, but there's a lot of people go... well, how can I put it? There's always been a debate about what's the first slasher film. The first proper slasher film. A lot of people would say Black Christmas. Possibly. Bay of Blood, Mario Bava's Bay of Blood is just that would definitely rank up there because it's not your typical Italian giallo film. It's more like a slasher film. It's the gore in it and the murders in it absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. And if you've never seen that, watch it because it's a clear inspiration for Friday the 13th. It just is. And it's much better than Friday the 13th, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of Friday the 13th. I mean, I watched the first one. I thought, tried watching the second one, and I thought, these are shit. I thought, I don't know. I really don't know. I didn't just thought, nah, not for me. So yeah, Halloween, regardless if you think it's the first slasher film or not, but for me, it's probably the most important slasher film for sure. It just is because of course after that you had the slasher boom of the early 80s. You had The Burning, you had Boogeyman, you had Rosemary's Baby, The Prowler, Maniac. You had all those type of slasher films, and John Carpenter, I mean, pretty much wrote the rules of the slasher film, And if you've never seen Halloween, basically, it's about this mental patient that's escaped from the mental hospital, and he ends up going back to his hometown because 20 years, I think is it 20 years earlier or 15 years earlier, I've forgotten. He killed his sister, so he ended up in the mental hospital. So he ends up escaping. And the way he escapes, it's like it's just yeah. It sort of baffles me a little bit because I think because Dr. Loomis, Donald Pleasant's character is his doctor, and he's with a nurse, and they're trying to. I haven't seen it for ages. They're gonna. Lost the words again. They take. I think they're taking him into the hospital, and he ends up, and it's pouring down with rain. It's pouring down with rain. There's nobody on the doors of the hospital. So Donald Pleasance ends up going out the car, and Michael Myers he ends up on the roof of the car, and he does a little scuffle with the nurse. He ends up driving the car out of there. Now, I'm not being funny, but where did he get driving lessons from? To do that, I thought it's bizarre. He's been in this mental hospital 15, 20 plus years, and he's driven the car out to the hospital. I always found that part a bit bizarre. Maybe I'm being, I don't know, maybe I'm over analysing there, but I just thought, who's been teaching him driving lessons? Dr. Loomis, is it? No then, Michael. So today we're gonna do driving school in the hospital car park. So are you ready? So here we go. Is this fun? Oh, this is fun, isn't it? You know, it's bizarre. It's a bit bizarre, but you know. So he ends up back in his hometown, and he ends up stalking a couple of teenagers and Jamie Lee Curtis's character. And what I like about Halloween is it relies more on atmosphere and point of view of the killer than gore, you know, because after that it was like with Maniac and Burning, a lot of, you know, it relied on more on the special effects and the gore rather than the plot. I mean, the plot to this is you know, is, I mean, I wouldn't say, I mean, saying that, there's not much. I wouldn't say there was a big, massive plot to this film, but I just love point of view. I just do. I just think it because it shows the perspective of the killer, you know, and you, to be honest, you don't see much of Michael Myers' his mask. You don't see much of it at all. Only when towards the end when they take his mask off, you don't see much of him. Just a lot of it is point of view, and I read that John Carpenter was influenced by Black Christmas, for the point of view of the killer, and of course the soundtrack. The soundtrack is fantastic, you know, great iconic piano melody, you know, pretty much, fantastic soundtrack. And yeah, and I also read, and there's a book called Teenage Wasteland, which is basically a book on the slasher films, you know, the 78 to 84, the golden period. And I read that Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee originally tailored to do the role of Dr. Loomis, Donald Pleasant's character. And I thought, really? And obviously both of them rejected it, but it would have been interesting to see Peter Cushing or Christopher Lee in that role. It would have been quite interesting. But Donald Pleasant, he does a great job. He does absolute great job. And it's just, you know, if you've never seen Halloween, it's a classic of the genre. It just is. You know, it's probably the best slasher film. because it doesn't rely on gory gimmicks. I mean, I like my gore, but it doesn't rely on that. It relies more on atmosphere. You know, it does rely on that. So yeah, Halloween classic. The Fog is another great one. In many ways, underrated. The Fog. I don't know. It just seems to be. It does seem to be underrated, that film, and that's a great. It's a unique spin on the ghost story, because basically, 100 years ago, there was a boat that crashed into this little city, not little city. What are you on about? Little town. And of course, 100 years later, they come to haunt the town, and it's just really, really great, really great film. I haven't seen that for a while, so I can't really tell you too much. I can't really tell you too much about that one. I need to rewatch that. And of course, Escape from New York. I mean, a classic of the action, absolute classic of the action genre. Escape from New York. I mean, just another incredible film. If you haven't seen that, basically, in a futuristic dystopia world, New York has become a maximum security prison. Once you go in, you don't come out. Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And of course, it touches on Third World War, because back in the 80s, Cold War, threat of nuclear war and all that. So there's a threat of nuclear war in it, so the president of the United States has got to go to, have a conference with Russia and China about nuclear fusion. And the plane crashes. Basically, the plane's hijacked by these freedom fighters of America, crashes into the New York prison, and Lee Van Cleef character Hulk, he's like, I need to get the president out, but they get a really nice welcome by Romero, Frank Doubleday's character. Oh my God, what a great character! He's just great. He's got vampire teeth. His face is all pale, looks like a vampire, and his hair is like up in the air, like he's got electric shock. It's just brilliant. And he goes, and he's laughing. He goes, and he's like, and he threatens Lee Van Cleef. He goes, touch me, he dies. Not near him, 3 seconds, he dies. You come back in, he dies. 20 seconds. What do you want? 19, 18, 17, 16. Let's go. Brilliant. And Kurt Russell said about Frank Doubleday's character, said, pretty much set the tone of the film. Yeah. Incredible scene. And then, of course, Lee Van Cleef, he's like, oh, who am I going to get to save the president? And he gets war hero, bank robber, Snake Plissken, played by Kurt Russell. Wow, Kurt Russell. The ultimate badass in this. He just is. And a clear inspiration for Solid Snake in the Metal Gear Solid series, for sure. Just brilliant in it. He's sort of channeling, I'd say he's sort of channeling Clint Eastwood a bit in it. But just iconic look with his eye patch and his gorilla-like trousers, army-like trousers, and his gud. Just iconic, Call me Snake, just brilliant. So yeah, they get him to get the president, and that's basically the plot. And along the way, he meets an old friend, Braid. Yeah, Brain. Harry Dean Stanton. Well, great in that. And Cabby, Ernest Borgnine, bloody hell. He looks like he's having a good time in that film. He just so, his energy and enthusiasm is so infectious. It's just unbelievable. Plays Cabby, the cab driver, brilliant. And then of course you got Isaac Hayes who plays the Duke. Don't cross the Duke. Everyone knows that. What did I teach you? You're the Duke of New York. You're A number one. I can't hear you. You are the Duke of New York. You're A number one. Yeah, the Duke of New York. You don't cross him. God, really, really, really nasty piece of work in now, Isaac Hayes. Very, 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 very chilling. His stare is just not the sort of person I like to stare down. It's just absolutely piercing stare. Just incredible. Like, again, John Carpenter, his ability to create such great characters, just brilliant. And again, the soundtrack, that's iconic as well. It's just, it's just brilliant. Escape from New York, it's just brilliant. And the less said about Escape from LA, the better. So yeah, and of course, the next film he did, The Thing. Unbelievable, The Thing. So yeah, The Thing. A sort of a remake of the remake of the '50s film, The Thing from Another World. And so yeah, basically this film, it's about an alien that can imitate any life form. So it can imitate a dog, any type of person, and it basically takes over the Antarctic base. And of course, you don't know who the thing's going to be next. And it's an absolute classic of the sci-fi horror genre. Absolute classic. Absolute classic film. I got to see this 30 years, the 30th anniversary on the big screen, and it was just absolutely great on the big screen. Absolutely brilliant film, and the special effects, none of that CGI bollocks, proper practical effects, just, brilliant, just, brilliant. I don't want to really talk about this film too much because if you haven't seen it, it'd sort of spoil it. But Kurt Russell as MacReady, brilliant. So yeah, The Thing, brilliant. And of course, Christine, brilliant. Based on a book by Stephen King. So yeah, basically it's about this really geeky, awkward, just quite frankly uncool teenager. He buys a 1958, get it right, Plymouth Fury called Christine. Buys it off this old dodgy cadger, he buys it off him, and he sort of morphs into this really horrible, obnoxious, could care less about any one person. And the car it's sort of alive. It just it sort of has heart and soul. It gets jealous of other women. It's really, 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 really horrible. And Yeah, again, great soundtrack to this, and Keith Gordon, great performance. Just absolute great performance because he goes from likable to just quite frankly unlikable. Just, yeah, he just incredible performance, soundtrack as well. Again, brilliant. Just, just absolutely brilliant soundtrack. So yeah, Christine, great horror film. Probably one of the best Stephen King books to be done into a film. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant, Christine. What else? Starman, I've seen. It's not sort of a different film for John Carpenter. Sort of like a romantic, it's like a romantic sci-fi. But this alien that comes down from Earth and it looks like a widow's deceased husband, and he's sort of go on an adventure, and he sort of like learns him human traits and characteristics. I've only seen it once, so I can't really comment on it too much. But I remember enjoying it, considering I'm not a big fan of romantic comedies. Well, it's not romantic, but you know what I mean. Not a big fan of like romances. It's like oh, I love you. It just grates on me. It's like, to me, it's like a drill to the head. It really is. Next film, Big Trouble in Little China. Just again, a sort of like a different type of film for John Carpenter. Sort of like a kung fu comedy, kung fu action thriller comedy, and it's incredibly silly, but it's a hell of a lot of fun to watch. Particularly Kurt Russell's character Jack Burton, the Pork Chop Express, just brilliant. And the film sort of reminds me a bit like Mortal Kombat. It just does. It has those elements. Now I don't know if the creators of Mortal Kombat have seen this film. I don't know, but it does sort of remind me of Mortal Kombat, and the soundtrack to it as well is different for John Carpenter. It's more, describe it as Oriental hard rock. That's how I would describe it. Just brilliant. It is brilliant film, and in many ways it's quite underrated. It is quite underrated. You don't People, when they talk about John Carpenter, it's either Halloween or it's mostly Halloween, isn't it? It's like, oh, John Carpenter, Halloween, John Carpenter, Halloween. Ooh, so they don't talk about this film much. And I'm sure I read somewhere this was voted one of the worst films of the 80s. I think. I mean, the 80s for films, it's sort of very bombastic, isn't it? It's a lot of the 80s stuff is very stylish and very completely over the top. It's very colourful and it can come across as cheesy a little bit, but some great films from the 80s, and for me, this is one of them. It's just a very silly, fun kung fu fantasy. About a 2,000-year-old like god. This he needs to renew himself by marrying a woman with green eyes. Is it green? See, I've forgotten the green. I think it's green eyes. Got to marry a woman with green eyes. to renew himself. It's just bizarre, but it's just brilliant, and it's some really funny moments when Kurt Russell's going backwards on a chain and he falls down a hole and he's like, ah! Brilliant. Just brilliant. And the action is brilliant, beautifully choreographed, the action in it. So yeah, Big Trouble in Little China. Great film. And of course, They Live. Just pretty much a satire on capitalism, basically. Because John Carpenter said in an interview with Roddy Piper, he said, They Live wasn't a fantasy. It was real life. I mean, yeah, because it's like, basically They Live is like, it's aliens have taken over the earth. And they're telling us what to drink, what to eat, what to wear. It's just, and it's like money. Oh, I need money. Oh, money. It's all that. And Roddy Piper, he's like a sort of like a down on his luck, struggling sort of labourer. He gets a job, and he just overhears all this man on the telly. He's like, and he's talking about conspiracies. He's talking about, oh, they're telling us this, they're telling us that. We should fight back and all that. And he takes it all in, and of course, I think the church he goes to, it's got like weapons in there, and it's got like, basically like, they're like a resistance against the aliens, and then he stumbles across these glasses. And he puts the glasses on, and some people are like, they're aliens. And he's like, what are these glasses? And then he goes on a bit of a rampage. And he goes in the bank. He goes, I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum. And he ad-libbed that, Roddy Piper, because if you don't know Roddy Piper, I mean, he was a great wrestler. Probably one of the greatest talkers. Big rival for Hulk Hogan in the 80s for WrestleMania. I mean, I think Roddy Piper did a lot for Hulk Hogan. And then again, vice versa. I mean, if Hulk didn't have a great villain to fight at WrestleMania, would a Hulkamania been as big? It's hard to say, really. I mean, he would have been big anyway, but to have a great rival like Roddy Piper, just brilliant. And then of course, Piper wanted to retire from wrestling, and ended up in films, and he ended up in a part in They Live, because John Carpenter was a big Roddy Piper fan, and Roddy Piper in that, just brilliant, because John Carpenter said most of the lines he did ad-libbed. It's like, where did you get those glasses? Tooth Fairy. You? This one okay. This one real fucking ugly. Yeah, They Live. Yeah, so They Live's like, it's still relevant today. It's just capitalism. It's just, I mean, just greed. It's all about making money. It's not giving a damn about people that are poor. They just don't. I mean, that's 30 years old now that They Live. Just brilliant. Before I go on to something else, the one scene with Keith David and Roddy Piper fighting in the alley. It's one of the greatest fight scenes I've ever seen in a film. It's about 20 minutes long. And he's like, kicking the shit out of each other. Saying, put these glasses on! Put these glasses on! Put these glasses on! And it's like, eventually Keith Davis put the glasses on. He's like, take a look at that, look at them all. This one, he can see. So yeah, They Live. Oh, classic film. Classic film. And a lot of people say John Carpenter peaked by the late 80s. I haven't seen many of his 90s stuff, to be honest. In the Mouth of Madness I've seen, that is really good. You know, that's sort of like, it's sort of like H.P. Lovecraft. Sort of, well, that sort of style. And, oh my god, 40 minutes! So yeah, before we, well, I have mentioned this in another video that I've got to see John Carpenter live in concert October 2016, and just incredible, absolutely incredible sound, beautiful slideshow of his films, Bristol coat and all. It just has an incredible sound, because I saw Guy Newman in it last year. Incredible sound in there, thunderous, powerful sound, just absolutely incredible. So yeah, on to sum up John Carpenter, could I sum him up in 2 words? Incredibly influential, for everything that came after him. The Warriors, Walter Hill, big influence on just no Assault on Precinct 13, no Warriors for me. The Purge films, and pretty much any slasher film that's made today is built on the blood of John Carpenter. So yeah, that was me talking about John Carpenter, rambling on for 42 minutes. So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.